So, very briefly, I am going to describe what the Arudha Lagna is. And I say very briefly because I already made a video about this and I'm going to link it in the video description. That video is more in-depth. I think it's about 1 hour long, and I also compare it to other concepts in Vedic astrology like the Karakamsha and the Swamsa Lagna. And also I do tackle 2 examples of Arudha Lagna and Karakamsha and Swamsa Lagna there by comparison. But just again, quickly, I'm going to give a brief description of what Arudha Lagna is, why it's important, how you calculate it, most importantly. And so first of all, what is the Arudha Lagna? Arudha Lagna is basically your print, or like your blueprint within the Maya, or the world of illusion, which is the physical world that we all live in. It is calculated based on the ascendant lord, or the Lagna lord as it is called in Vedic astrology. And so it is derived from the ascendant. The ascendant, as you may know, is considered the outer shell. It is the physical path that the soul is walking on during this lifetime, and it affects your personality and even your physical appearance. Arudha Lagna is derived based on the ascendant and the ascendant lord, and it affects not necessarily your physical appearance, but the way that other people perceive you. And like I explained in this other in-depth video, it's an extremely important concept because obviously the way that people interact with you, the way that people judge you, the way that, everything, all the interactions that you have in the physical world do in turn affect your personality and your personality's development, especially when you are, growing up. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like, how should I say it? The relationship between your true nature and the Arudha Lagna is kind of like the question between what came first, the question of what came first, the chicken or the egg, because if from the first time that you start interacting with people they treat you a certain way, then you will respond accordingly and you will adjust your personality and according to how people treat you, and vice versa, so your personality now has been changed by the way others have interacted with you, and when you meet new people you will have this outer shell of how you present yourself, and they will continue to reinforce your self-perception. Like for example, I don't know, if somebody, let's say, has a very harsh appearance, or people perceive them to be a very harsh individual, they will respond strongly towards this person. They might be aggressive towards this person, and maybe even harass them or something because they feel threatened by this person's presence in the world, and in turn this person will develop a very harsh personality because they will have to deal with a lot of opposition. They will have to deal with a lot of maybe injustice, and their personalities will develop according to that. And so this is a very brief description. So the Arudha Lagna is extremely important. You can even judge, like I mentioned in that video, you can judge the circumstances and the main causes, potential causes of death, for instance. You can also get into timing of death, but I would not get into that. However, like I mentioned in that video, I do plan on tackling the subject of circumstances of death in a future video. But basically you can see a lot of things, because the way that the world will respond to you will affect everything in your life. It will affect, for instance, if people see you as an honest person, is kind of seen from the second house, which is the second house of speech, second house from the Arudha Lagna, I mean. And so for instance, or what class of people are gonna support you, that's seen from the 9th house from the Arudha Lagna. Or what class of people will oppose you directly and openly, that's going to be seen from the 7th house from the Arudha Lagna. Whether you are perceived as a healthy, physically fit person, that's going to be seen from the 8th house from the Arudha Lagna. So there are all these different things that that can be seen from the Arudha Lagna. It's extremely important, and it's also valuable to look at when it comes to transits as well. And so this has been the brief description, and now if you will look on the screen, I have taken the example of Nicole Kidman's chart, for instance, just to give you a very short calculation, just to show you very quickly how it is calculated. It's very simple. So as you can see in her chart, she has ascendant in Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus. And you see that Venus there, circled with the purple, is sitting in the 10th house. So what you do now is, so basically Venus is 10 placements. When you start calculating from the ascendant to her Venus, you get 10 positions, right? And that's how far away her Venus is, her ascendant ruler is from her actual ascendant. And what you do now is you calculate the exact same number of positions from that Venus. And where you arrived, that's the Arudha Lagna. So you start with Libra, right? Libra 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 until the 10th house, and that's where Venus is placed. And now you start from Venus another 10 placements. So Cancer is 1, right? 1 Cancer, 2 Leo, 3 Virgo, 4 and so on. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you get to Aries, and that's her Arudha Lagna. And now the way you look at the chart is as if the Arudha Lagna were the ascendant. So now the second house from her Arudha Lagna is going to be in Taurus. And any planet that would be in Taurus would be in the second house from the Arudha Lagna. Her third house from the Arudha Lagna is in Gemini. The third from Gemini, from the Arudha Lagna, contains the planets of Sun and Mercury in her case, and so on and so forth. And another thing is, there are two things that you need to pay attention to. There are exemptions from the rule. So this is the general rule. And now for the exemptions from the rule, I checked Lana Del Rey's chart, which you're going to be seeing on the screen. And here you see, so when the ascendant ruler, there are a number of exceptions being cited on various sources online, but the only exceptions that I use, which I have found to be relevant, are when the ascendant lord is in the ascendant, or when the ascendant lord is in the 7th house from the ascendant. Then you cannot calculate the Arudha Lagna by the general rule. Instead, what you're going to do is you're going to subtract 4 positions from where the ascendant lord is sitting. So if the ascendant lord is sitting in the ascendant in your chart, you subtract 4 placements, and the 10th house sign will become your Arudha Lagna. If your ascendant lord is sitting in the 7th house, like in Nicole Kidman's case here, like Lana Del Rey's case here, because here in her case, you see ascendant lord Venus is in the 7th house. You subtract 4 placements from that, and your Arudha Lagna will become the sign on the 4th house cusp. These are the two exemptions of the rule that I use. If you go online, there are going to be different interpretations, but I found that, this sticking to this is giving me the best interpretations. I might change my mind, I don't know, maybe a few years from now, but for now, based on my experience, this is how I go. And also, in case you don't know the rulership by now, I have written down, as you can see on the screen, each sign and what the planetary rulers of each sign are, so you can calculate your Arudha Lagna. Another important thing to take into account is the situations of Scorpio and Aquarius. These 2 signs have 2 rulers. Scorpio is ruled by Mars and Ketu, and Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Rahu. In this case, you have to calculate 2 separate Arudha Lagnas. So you have to look at the placement of both of these ascendant lords and what houses they are in, and basically people who have their ascendant in Scorpio and Aquarius respectively will have 2 sets of Arudha Lagna. In that case, you have to look at both of them. So see what planetary combinations are going on there, which house, like for instance, if you have 2 ascendants, maybe, I don't know, Pisces and Aries, look at which one of them maybe has planets in the 1st house, then that first house is going to be more powerful. So basically, you have to look at both of them for accurate interpretations. So this has been it, and this is just a short introductory video that I will be introducing into each of these Arudha Lagna through signs series, because I do plan on doing a brief description for each Arudha Lagna, so that you can get a general idea. Yeah, so this has been it, and then I'm gonna continue with each sign in detail further down the line. So yeah,